We'll now see about error control coding techniques. Um, so as you know, error control coding techniques, they are nothing but channel coding techniques. So channel coding techniques, in the sense, they are used to reduce the amount of addition of noise in the channel to an extent. So whereby by introducing control redundancy, that is what you mean by error control coding. Okay, so error control coding, the main use of error control coding is for error detection and error correction. So it introduces control redundancy to prevent noise in the channel. Okay, so it is mainly channel coding. So there are various types of channel coding techniques. So block codes, convolutional codes, cyclic codes, and also other types of coding techniques. So for gate exams, you can just prepare for these types of coding techniques, channel coding techniques. You can expect problems on this particular coding techniques. That's what it refers to actually. Okay, so if you take linear block codes, if you take linear block codes, so the format or the structure of linear block codes, that is n comma k. So it takes k bits of input at a time and produces n bits of output. Okay, so if m is the message vector, it is one considered to be one cross k. The code word c is equal to m times g, so it is 1 by n. The error vector is nothing but 1 by n. Received vector r is equal to c plus e, code word plus the, the error is 1 by n. The generator matrix, it is nothing but k by n. So k inputs into n outputs. H is the parity check matrix. So parity check matrix is n minus k by n. So n minus k is equal to m. M is the number of parity bits. Then also you have syndrome. So syndrome is equal to r into h transpose, which is equal to e into h transpose. Then you have the error vector to be calculated, estimated code word. Then you have the decoded message vector. So this is the representations or the terminologies for each and every parameter in the particular linear block codes. It's okay. So if you take the block schematic of the linear block code, you have the message signal. So you have the message signal, you have the code word to get generated, and after the code word is generated, you can send the error pattern, you can get the received code word. Then g is the generator. Okay, g is the generator. So c is equal to m into g. M is the message, g is the generator. C is equal to m into g. You have c is equal to m into g. So you have the error, then received code word, then it is h transpose. So s is equal to r into h transpose, the error pattern generation. The error pattern generation, e complement, then you have the code word complemented, then you have the decoded message signal. So this is the block schematic of a linear block code. Okay, so proceeding further, so in a linear block code, the exclusive or XOR of any of the two valid code words creates another valid code word. A linear block code, the exclusive or of any two valid code words creates another valid code word. To guarantee the detection of up to s errors in all the cases, the minimum Hamming distance in a block code, it has minimum distance nothing but s plus n, s plus 1. Okay, for example, we'll see a problem. So we consider a 7,4 linear block code given by the generator. Okay, so n comma k. So n is the number of outputs. So 7 outputs and 4 inputs actually. So this is the generator matrix of a given linear block code. So from the generator matrix, you can find out what is the H matrix. H is the parity check matrix. So H is the parity check matrix. So it is n minus k by n. So n value is 7. So it is 7 minus 4 by n. So it is considered to be from this particular the parity check matrix. You can calculate this as 3 by the n minus k by n. So this is okay. So this is a 3 by 7 matrix. Then you're going to find out. So since this is 4 input, so you can have various possible combinations of the message. So you can have 16 possible combinations of the message. So M1011, okay. Then 16 possible combinations. Then you can find out what is the from the. So you just multiply this with the generator polynomial. So this is a 1 by 4 and this is a 4 by 7. So if you multiply this, you'll be getting this particular 10110011. Likewise, you can try out for various possibilities. So if there is no error, the received vector x is equal to c. So this is the syndrome actually. This is the syndrome. So we have seen what is the pattern for syndrome. Okay. So this is the pattern for syndrome. So here S is equal to R into H transpose, which is equal to E into H transpose. Received code word, and H is the parity check matrix, and H transpose is E is the error pattern. Okay. So this is C into H transpose. We can calculate what is the syndrome. So if you want to proceed further, if you fix the that is if the error is found to be in the third bit, so if you take the corresponding code word, you take corresponding code word and we do modulo 2 addition. So if you take a modulo 2 addition, so 1 with 0 is 1, 0 0 is what 0 0 0, 1 with 1 is 0. So 1 with 0 is 1, 1 with 0 is 1, 0 0 0 0, and 1 0 is 1. So this is modulo 2 addition or XOR. Okay, S is equal to H, S is equal to X into H transpose. So if we just multiply this, so you'll be getting 101. So if 101, so you get 101. But what this 101 implies is that you have to search in the uh, you have to search in the table actually. Now 101 is in the third bit or in the third position. 1, 2, 3 in third position. So error is there in the third bit. So you can detect errors. You can detect errors just like that. Okay, so you can detect and correct errors in linear block codes in such a manner. Okay, so detection and correction of n, k linear block codes. Error detection is easier than error correction. So the detectable errors 2 power n minus 2 power k. Okay, so depending upon the value of a, so here it is the case is different compared to the previous problem. Error detection and error correction. What are the correctable error? What are the non-zero syndromes? You can just find out. Okay. So the Hamming distance. Another important thing is you can have the repetition codes or the Hamming distance. The Hamming distance between code words is the number of differences between corresponding bits. Okay. Also, the minimum Hamming distance is the smallest Hamming distance all possible pairs in a set of code words. So you can, so mm, in repetition codes. So you can also expect problems on repetition codes. And then the important thing is Hamming distance, Hamming weight, all these things you can find out. Hamming weight is the number of non-zero elements. Hamming weight is the number of non-zero elements. Hamming weight is the number of non-zero elements in the code word. Hamming distance, you can easily calculate number of differences between the corresponding bits. For example, if you see a problem, we can also expect problems based on this particular Hamming distance in repetition codes or Hamming codes. Okay, find the Hamming distance between. We'll see the problem. Find the Hamming distance between two pairs of words. So okay, there is calculate the Hamming distance t between the code words 000 and 011. Okay, so if you find the distance between these two words, so 0 and 0 there is no change, this 0 and this 1 there is a change, and this 1 and 1 and this 0 and 1 there is a change. Okay, so also if you XOR these two, it is 0 1 1, there are two ones, so hence the Hamming distance is 2. Then if you take the next problem, so if we take the next problem, calculate the Hamming distance between the code words 10101 11110. So if you observe the differences, 1 and 1 there is no change, 0 and 1 there is a change, 1 1 no change, then 0 and 1 there is a change, 1 0 there is a change. So the answer is 3. Or what you can do is 1 0 1 0 1 1 1 1 1 0. So if you XOR them for perform modulo 2 addition, there are 3 ones. So hence the Hamming distance between the code words is considered to be 3. Okay. Now we will see another problem. So you can expect problems of this type. A linear Hamming code is used to map 4-bit messages to 7-bit code words. The encoder mapping is linear. So if the message is 0001, it's mapped to the code word 0000111. The message 0011 is mapped to the code word. Then the message 0010 is mapped to, you have to find out. Okay. So the message is given as 0011. So the message is given as 0011. So message, so we have the following messages. Okay. So 0001, 0011. Okay. So the message is 0001 and the message you have 0011. Okay. So the corresponding code words are also given. So the corresponding code words for 0001 is 3 zeros and so 4 zeros and 1 1, and this is the corresponding code word. So addition of two code modular to addition of two codes is also a code word. So it's a linear Hamming code. So message 1 and 2 results in a code word, code 1 and code 2. So what we'll do is we just add these two messages. We just add these two messages. Okay. So we have 0001, 0001, 0011, 0010, 0010. So we just XOR this. So 1 and 1 XOR is 0, 0 1 XOR is 1, 0 and 0 XOR is 0, 0 0 XOR is 0. So we're using this property. So look into the properties of the code words. By looking into the properties of code words, so by looking into the properties of code words, you can just find out the answers. So if we just XOR this 1 and 0 modulo 2 is 1, 0 and 0 is, so I mean 1 and 1 is 0, 1 and 1 is 0, 0 0 0 0 0 0, then 0 1 0, 0 1 is 1 1 1. So if you look at these various options, so this last option comes as suitable one. So So combination of two code words produces another, modular addition of two code words produces another code word. So that is what it refers to. Okay, so the combination of two code words produces another code word. That is the important thing. So please make sure of these properties. So have you seen handling distance? So we have introduced Hamming weight. Hamming weight is the number of non-zero elements. So just go through it. Then you can expect problems of this particular type. Now next we'll pass on to cyclic codes. Okay. So cyclic codes are also a form of a linear blue code which uses the shift register to perform encoding and decoding. The code word with n bits is expressed as C of x is equal to C1 x power n minus 1 plus C2 x power n minus 2 up to Cn. Okay. So C is either binary 1 or 0. So C of x is equal to m of x x power n minus k plus C of x p of x. So C suffix p of x is nothing but the remainder from dividing m of x power n minus k by generator g of x. So if the received signal is C of x plus E of x, where E of x is the error. To check if received signal is error free, the remainder from dividing C of x plus E of x to G of x is obtained, known as the syndrome. Now, if this is 0, then the received signal is considered error free, else error pattern is detected from the error syndromes. So you have to use polynomials actually. Message polynomial. You have to use generator polynomial. Okay. So then you have to find out what is the corresponding code word. Okay. So a computationally efficient subset of say cyclic codes, if you say it's like it is a computationally efficient subset of linear block codes. Okay, so the generator polynomial is given in this particular representation. So g of x is summation I equal to 0 to n minus k. So where n bits are the output and k bits are the input. So gi x power I. So g is equal to g suffix n minus k g1 g0. So a parity check polynomial. So parity check polynomial h of x is summation I equal to 0 to k h I x I, and the corresponding constraint g of x h of x is equal to x power n minus 1. So encoding a cyclic code. So encoding a cyclic code is nothing but C of x is equal to m of x g of x. So C of x is the corresponding code word, m of x is the message polynomial, g of x is the generator polynomial, and c is equal to c suffix n minus 1, c1, c0. So these are nothing but the code words. Then cj is equal to m convolved with g. So m is the message polynomial, message set of messages or message polynomial, message coefficients, and g is the generator polynomial or the generator coefficients. So it is represented by this particular summation. So cyclic shifts in a cyclic code word. So multiplication by xj modulo x power n minus 1 is equal to a cyclic shift left shift by j positions. So cj of x is nothing but x into c of x mod x power n minus 1, and cj is nothing but c suffix n minus j minus 1 c1 c0 cn minus 1 up to c suffix n minus j. So these are some of the cyclic shifts. So look into the properties of various error control codes. So using properties you can solve problems. Okay, then if you look into the syndrome calculator, so we saw what was the syndrome for linear block codes. If you look into the syndrome calculator, so here you have r of x. So you have r of x which is passed into various gates r1, so which is passed in r1, r2 coefficients up to r suffix n minus k. Then you have the generators. Okay, Then you have the generators G0, G1, G top, Gn minus k. Then we find here what is known as the syndrome. S0, S1, S of x, n minus k minus 1. Okay. So if you look into a problem, okay. So we have already seen a 7,4 linear block code. To find the code words C of x, find the code words C of x. To find the code word C of x, if m of x is equal to 1 plus x square, no 1 plus x square, and g of x is 1 plus x cube. Okay, for a 7,4 linear block code. So you have to calculate what is the code word. So as you know, code word is nothing but it is a it follows this into m of x into x power n minus k plus c suffix p of x. Okay, so n is the total number of bits, k is the number of input bits, the parity bits is 3. Okay, so you have to find out what is the remainder for. You have to find out what is the remainder for the corresponding multiplication. Okay, so m of x into x power n minus k. M of x is given as 1 plus x square, 1 plus x square. This is x power n minus k. So n is 7 minus 4 x power 3. So this is 1 plus x square, 1 plus x square into x power 3. So if you just multiply this, so you'll be getting in the numerator. Then in the denominator, if you just have this as 1 plus x power 3, and or you have to use modulo 2 addition. So this is x power 3 plus x plus 1. So this is so the so what is the divisor? So the divisor, you have the dividend. Then you can calculate what is the remainder. Calculate what is the remainder. Okay, so that is what you can calculate what is the remainder. Okay, so this is the corresponding. So this is the corresponding code word which you have obtained. X plus x power 3 plus x power 4 plus x power 5. Okay. Then the next type of code words are convolutional codes. The next type of code words are convolutional codes. So encoding of information stream rather than information blocks. Okay, so it takes 1 bit at a time. Value of certain information symbol also affects the encoding of next m information symbols. That is memory m. So easy implementation using shift register, assuming k inputs and n outputs. Decoding is mostly performed by Viterbi algorithm. Okay, so Viterbi we have not considered here. Okay, then the convolutional codes. The convolutional code n is equal to 2, k is equal to 1, m is equal to 2. Okay, so if you take x input bits d1, d2, x input bits d1, d2, so y1, y2. So these are the registers. So we have the m number of flip flops, m2 flip flops. Okay, so 2 flip flops. So the input 1 1 1 0 0 0. So 1 1 0 1 1 0 0 1 1 1 0 0. So if you pass the input bits, binary 1 comes here. So initially it will be some bit will be residing there. So 1 comes in here for the first first clock pulse. So okay, so 1 comes here. So 1 comes here. So the next bit goes out. So likewise for each and every bit, the bit state comes here. So you'll be getting so k 1 input bits and 2 output bits. For 1 input, you'll be getting 2 outputs. So this is depending upon the states. So these are the various input possibilities which you can have. So for single bit input, you'll be getting 2 bits as the output in the flip-flop. Based on this, you can write the state table, and you can write the state transition diagram. So binary 1, binary 0 are the inputs. So for what will happen for binary 1, the corresponding inputs you'll be getting what is the corresponding the state table. You can get various values. Okay, so since you have two what to say so since you have two flip-flops, so the number of states combinations as 2 power 2. So you can have 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1. Okay, 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1, 0 0 1 0 1 1. And what to do is that you can just find out the various possibilities. So for what is the representation for if 0 comes in a state, if 0 comes in a state 1, and what will happen if a 1 comes in a C. So this is actually initial state. So if 0 is the input, so the output is 0 0, so it stays in the A state itself. So if 1 comes in A state, so it goes to the next state 1 0. So 1 1 input 1 1. Then you have, if you have 0 1, for 0 1, if 0 comes in this particular state 0 1 1, then binary 1 comes, it is 0 0. Likewise, you can have for this 1 0 and this 1 1 also. Okay, so this is the state diagram. So you can also expect problems using the state diagram. And the Viterbi algorithm, with the Viterbi algorithm, so it is a decoder here. So you can have various possibilities such as the state diagram representation, the tree diagram representation, and next the trellis diagram representation. So if you look at the trellis diagram representation, first you have to pass the bit, you have to divide it into two branches. So this is 0 0 and 1 1. Then you have to bifurcate this further. So here it is given this particular branch. So 1 1 is split up into 1 0 and 0 1. So depending upon which particular thing goes. So upper branch always represents a 0, lower branch always represents a 1. So likewise you have to cross the upper branch 0, this is 1 1. So you have to divide like this. Okay, you have to divide like this, and you have to go in for a certain number of stages. So for example 3 to 4 stages. So and depending upon, so first bit is 1, so that comes in the lower branch, and then the next bit is also 1. Okay, so the first bit is 1, the next bit is 1. So okay, likewise you can go here. So the next bit is 0, upper branch. Okay, then it goes on. So you can just find out from what is the first input and what is the output actually. Okay, so tree diagram representation. Likewise, you'll be having the trellis tree diagram representation. Okay, so if you know the trellis tree diagram representation, you can easily calculate what is the Viterbi algorithm. Okay, so you can expect problems using convolutional codes. So initially, as you have 4 states 0 0 1 0 0 1 1 1, 0 0 1 0 0 1 1 1. So you have 0 0, then 0 0 0 0. Okay, so for each of the states, so if in this state 0 comes, it goes to 0 0. If the state 1 comes, it comes to 1 1 1 0. Okay, so you can go in for various particular states. It is not that. So this is a repetitively depending upon the number of input bits. So in this state 0 comes, it goes like 0 0 1 1. Then it goes on. In this particular state, it goes to further 0 0 1 1. Okay, so likewise in the B state 1 0 comes, what happens? Likewise in each and every state you can go in for binary zeros and ones representation. Okay, so this is the state where you have the set of bits. So binary 1 comes here, binary 1 comes here, then you have 0, then you have 0. So likewise you can find out what are all the various bit like representation 1 1. Okay, so 1 1 1 0 7, various representations like this. Okay, so you can find out what is the various trellis codes. You can find out where the various trellis codes. Okay, so you can find out easily what are the convolutional codes, various types of codes in this particular you can expect problems on this particular type. Then you have cyclic redundancy check. So the cyclic redundancy check is nothing but uh, is an error checking code. So the transmitter appends an extra bit sequence to every frame, so called as the frame check sequence. So the FCS holds redundant information about the frame. So it helps receivers to detect errors in received frames. uh, Help receivers to detect and correct errors in the received frames. So CRC is based on polynomial manipulations using modulo arithmetic. So blocks of input bits treated as coefficient sets for polynomials called message polynomials. Okay. So for the message 11001, message polynomial is 1 and 2. So starting from the MSP, 1 into x power 4 plus 1 into x power 3 plus 0 into x square plus 0 into x power 1 plus 1 into x power 0. Okay. So CRC also uses another polynomial with constant coefficients called the generator polynomial. Polynomial manipulations using modular to arithmetic are applied to two polynomials. Okay. These are the standard CRC polynomials. So you have the code CRC12. So you have the code CRC12, CRC16, and CRC CCITT. So it's standard generator polynomials. So 1 plus x square plus x power 3 plus so on, so parity check bits 12, 16 and 16. So you can expect problems on error control codes. So these are some of the error control codes. So you can which you can expect in GATE exams. Okay, so please go through this information. Now what we'll do is we'll pass on to multiple access schemes. We'll pass on to multiple access schemes. Multiple access schemes. So multiple access refers to many users using the same time or frequency or in terms of code accessing the particular slot at a particular time. So share a finite amount of radio spectrum. So multiple access gives high performance. Generally uses a duplexing either in time or frequency. So you can have either in frequency domain or in time domain. So there the various multiple access techniques are there. So multiple access techniques you can have frequency division multiple access, time division multiple access, code division multiple access. So these are some of the standard multiple access technique schemes. Okay. So if you look into this diagram of frequency division multiple access, so each user is allocated a particular frequency band. Each user is allocated a particular frequency band. So they'll be having forward channel and reverse channel. So you have users of different types. You have user forward channel, reverse channel, forward channel, reverse channel, forward channel, reverse channel. Uh, Forward channel, reverse channel. So time slot F actually. Okay. So forward channel, for example, if you take cellular mobile communication system, so the forward channel refers the channel from the base station to the mobile station. The reverse channel refers to the channel from the mobile station to the base station. Okay, then then user n. So for each and every user, you'll be having forward channel, reverse channel. Okay, so user one, it transmits, it accesses the channel's frequency band. Either as a forward channel and there's a reverse channel. Likewise, all the users. So user one, all the users initially they have the forward channel, reverse channel, and in each slot, time division duplexing, in each slot they'll be having a forward channel and reverse channel. So user one up to user n. Okay. So user one. So user one forward channel. Likewise, time division multiplexes. So each user is allocated a particular time slot. So user one will be having only this particular time slot, but instead they'll be using these two frequencies. One is for the forward channel, the other one is for the reverse channel. One is for the forward channel, the other is for the reverse channel. Okay. So likewise, each user one, user two, up to user n. Okay. So they'll be having forward channel and reverse channel. Okay. And then time division duplexing. Okay, time division duplexing and time division multiplexes. Time division multiplexing and time division multiplexes. So see there is a difference here. Time division logical separation of time division multiplexes and frequency division duplexing. So so the same what to say, the same time slot. So different frequencies you will be using. Then in this in what to say, so in the same time slot and in the same time slot and the same same forward and reverse channel you'll be using. For each users it will go on. So and up to user n. So in the x-axis you'll be having time and frequency. Likewise, you'll be having code division multiplexes. Likewise, you'll be having code division multiplexes, FDMA. So that is nothing but see here you'll be having frequency and you'll be having code. So user one forward channel, reverse channel, user n forward channel, reverse channel. So different types of users. Now regarding the codes in the sense, regarding the codes in the sense, uh, regarding the codes in the sense, so codes you can use either pseudo random sequence, PN sequences. You can use either pseudo random sequences. So pseudo random sequence are there, and they are nothing but periodic sequences. They are periodic sequences with a certain periodicity. They have a certain fixed polynomial. They can be generated by using a pseudo random binary sequence generator. Okay, so their codes are used to spread the signal over a large bandwidth. This is used to spread the signal over a large bandwidth so that you can be having proper security. That is what you mean. Okay, so this is for the case for you, the CDMA with frequency division duplexing. Then this is for CDMA with time division duplexing. Okay, so here you'll be having each user will be having on a particular time slot for forward channel and then for a reverse channel. Okay, so you'll be having for both the cases. Okay, then if you look into the multiple access techniques, so the multiple access techniques are used in FDMA by frequency division duplexing. It is used in AMPS. This is the first generation um, the cellular phone. Then TDMA by FDD is the second generation global system for mobile. US digital cellular and USDC. Digital European cordless telephone DCT FDMA bar FDD bar TDD. US narrowband spectrum IS-95 CDMA FDD. They are all used. Okay. So frequency division multiple access FDMA, it uses one phone circuit per channel. One phone circuit per channel. Idle time causes wasting of resources. simultaneously and continuously transmitting, usually implemented in narrowband systems. So usually implemented in narrowband systems. So also the nonlinear effects in FDMA. Okay, so the nonlinear effects in the FDMA. Um, mm, so the nonlinear effects in FDMA. Many channels uses the same antenna. Many channels use the same antenna for maximum power efficiency. It operates near saturation. So near saturation power amplifiers are nonlinear. Nonlinearities causes signal spreading. Nonlinearities causes signal spreading. Then you have intermodulation frequencies. You have intermodulation frequencies. Nonlinearity is nonlinear effects in FDMA. Okay, the nonlinearity effects in FDMA. So intermodulation frequencies are undecided harmonics. Okay, so intermodulation nonlinear effects in FDMA, IM intermodulation frequencies. So they are undecided harmonics. Okay, so they are undecided harmonics. Okay, so IM are undecided harmonics. So interference with other channels in the FDMA system. So it decreases user carrier to interference ratio. It decreases the performance. So interference outside the mobile radio band, adjacent channel interference. So in cellular systems you have co-channel interference and adjacent channel interference. So adjacent channel interference is the interference from nearby cells which are adjacent to each other. So uh, likewise co-channel interference, cells which use the same frequencies. Cells which use the same frequencies in nearby cells, so are called as co-channel cells. So RF filters are required, which RF filters are needed to manage for higher costs. So if you look into the number of channels in an FDMA system, if you look into the number of channels in FDMA system, so N is equal to BT minus B guard bandwidth by channel bandwidth. So BC is the channel bandwidth, B suffix guard is the guard channel bandwidth, B suffix T is the total spectrum, N is the number of channels, N is the number of channels, N is the number of channels. Okay. Now if you look into the problem, if you consider an AMPS system with FDMA or FDD analog cellular system, so 12.5 megahertz per simplex bandwidth is the total bandwidth. Okay, guard bandwidth is nothing but 10 kilohertz. BC is equal to 30 kilohertz. So if you use this particular formula, BT minus B guard, so BT minus B guard by BC, so BT is equal to 12.5 into 10 power 6. So 12.5 into 10 power 6, actually this is exponential 6, minus 2 times the formula, minus 2 times the 2 times, so the what to say, 2 times the two times the guard bandwidth. So it is almost coming around 416 channels. So it is almost coming around 416 channels. Okay. Then time division multiplexers. So time division multiplexers. So it uses time slots. So it uses time slots, various time slots. So each user is allocated a particular time slot. So it uses burst and buffer method, buffer and burst method, non-continuous transmission, digital data and digital modulation. Non-continuous transmission, digital data and digital modulation. Okay, time division multiplexers. Time division multiplexers. Okay. So each user, so the frame structure. So you have the preamble, you have the information message, you have the trail bits. So this is one TDMA frame is something like this. Okay, so one TDMA frame is something like this, and the information message, is such that, each information message will be having slot 1, slot 2. So, each information message will be having a slot, will be having different slots. Okay, so and each of these slots, a particular time slot, for example, a particular time slot will be having trail bits. Each of the particular bits will be having a trail bits, synchronization bits, information data, and guard bits. Information data and guard bits. The frame is cyclically repeated over time. So you'll be having trail bits, synchronization bits, information data, guard. So guard bits, as you know, it is used to provide proper spacing between one transmission data and another transmission data. Okay, synchronization bits, they are used to synchronize the transmitting and receiving ends. They are used to synchronize the transmitting and receiving ends. They are used to synchronize the transmitting and receiving ends. So that is what it generally refers to. Okay, so the features of TDMA. So the features of TDMA, it uses a single carrier frequency for several users. It uses a single carrier frequency for several users. Transmission in burst actually. So low battery consumption. So handoff process is much simpler. So handoff process is much simpler. So handoff process is much simpler. So handoff process is much simpler in the sense, so transmission from one cell to another cell. Transmission from one cell to another cell. A call is being transferred from one cell to another cell. That is handoff process. So now you have so you have a very high transmission rate. So high synchronization overhead. Guard slots are necessary. So guard slots are necessary. So synchronization, as you know that so it's a proper synchronization between transmitter and receiver. Then the number of channels in a TDMA system. So n is equal to m times b total minus 2 times b guard bandwidth divided by bc. So you can just look into the formula. So n is the number of channels, m is the number of TDMA users per radio channel, b total is the total spectrum allocation. B guard is the guard bandwidth, and BC is the channel bandwidth actually. So this is the formula for FDMA system. I mean the TDMA system. So if you look into the problem here, TDMA bar FDD system. So in the forward link, the B total is nothing but 25 megahertz. The radio channel BC is 200 kilohertz. If 8 speech channels are supported and if no guard band is assumed, so you can just calculate based on, so this is 25 into 10 power 6, 200 into 10 power 3. Okay, so it comes around 1000 simultaneous users. So you can easily calculate problems based on this. Okay, so these are the features of TDMA system. So based on this particular formula, you can just calculate. So if you just look into the if you just look into this particular okay so if we just look into the uh, comparison of I mean, if you just look into TDMA system is more advantageous. TDMA system is more advantageous when comparison to the FDMA system, because TDMA is digital in nature. TDMA is digital in nature, so it transmits and receives data in the form of burst and buffer, that is time slots. So percentage of transmitted data contains information. So frame efficiency, you can analyze that by using frame efficiency. Usually end user efficiency is less than the frame efficiency because of source and channel coding. Now the frame efficiency, to find the frame efficiency. Okay. So for the efficiency of TDMA. Okay. So the overhead number of overhead bits is the parameter number of efficiency TDMA, number of overhead bits is nothing but so NR into BR. So BOH is the number of overhead bits, BR is the number reference bits per reference burst. So NT is nothing but the number of NT is the number of traffic burst per frame. Then the overhead bits per preamble in each slot, B suffix P. D suffix P is the overhead bits per preamble in each time slot. Then VG is nothing but the equivalent bits in each guard time interval. Then the efficiency of TDMA. Efficiency of TDMA is nothing but, so it is BT is equal to TF into R. So BT is the total number of bits per frame. BT is the total number of bits per frame. So TF is the frame duration, and R is the channel bit rate. And R is the channel bit rate. Okay. So if you look into the efficiency of the TDMA system, if you look into the efficiency of the TDMA system, so the frame efficiency eta F is nothing but it is 1 minus BOH by BT into 100%. Okay, so the frame efficiency is given like this: number of overhead bits per frame. So BT is the total number of bits per frame. So BT is the number of total number of bits per frame. So based on this, you can expect some gate exam problems in the exam. So you can just look into what is this actually. Okay. Okay. So now the next another so if you look into the another thing is that code division multiplexers. Okay. Code division multiplexers. So code division multiplexers, as you see that from this particular diagram. So in this you have the separate codes to get transmitted for each particular user. So code, time and frequency. Okay, so separate unique code per user. So code sequences are orthogonal. So what are the possible codes you can have is that okay, so different users can use the same frequency simultaneously. Okay, so different users can use the same frequencies. So each user is allocated with a specific code, that is a pseudo random code. Each user is allocated a specific pseudo random code, or each user is used to transmit with a separate frequency. Okay, so some CDMA systems, some 2G systems, and some 3G systems use CDMA. Okay, some 2G systems and uses CDMA techniques. Use CDMA techniques. So you have what you have to do is you have to just multiply the information sequences with the set of you have to just multiply the CDMA sequences using this CDMA PN random codes with the set of pseudo random sequences. So the signal will get spread in wider bandwidth. So signal will get spread with wider bandwidth, and you can have a proper security your data. Okay, so there are two types of CDMA techniques. One is direct sequence. So direct sequence CDMA technique. The other one is frequency hopping. So in direct sequence spectrum technique, first the message signal is multiplied with the pseudo random sequence. So it's multiplied with the pseudo random sequence, and it is spreaded. So the spreader sequence is once again modulated by using some high frequency carrier, and then you'll be getting the direct sequence spread spectrum type technique. Then the next one is nothing but it is the frequency hopping. Okay, the frequency hopping, each information bit is hopped with separate frequencies. So you'll be having different frequencies. So you can have either fast hopping or slow hopping. So the same frequency for all forward and reverse channels. For example, the forward channel is nothing but if we take a cellular system, the channel from the base station to the mobile station is the forward channel, and the channel from the mobile station to the base station is called as reverse channel. So, you can have frequency hopping. So frequency hopping, different frequencies to get transmitted. Okay, so so you have codes to get transmitted for each and every particular user. Each and every user will be transmitted by using a separate code, and also you can have. Okay, so you can looking for this type of you can look in for this type of concepts CDMA frequency hopping. So if you compare these three frequency hopping, time division multiplexers, so each one of them has their own advantages. So each one of them has their own advantages. So FDMA, if you make a comparison, FDMA is purely analog in nature. So FDMA is purely analog in nature. So FDMA is purely analog in nature. So near far effect has the problem of near far effector. So FDMA is purely analog in nature. So it is mainly used in narrowband systems, usually implemented in narrowband systems. Okay, but it is analog, and the chances of noise and interference getting added is very high. Whereas if you take a TDMA system, whereas of a TDMA system, it is almost entirely digital. TDMA system is entirely digital data. It is almost digital, and so the interference is highly reduced in digital system. Interference is highly reduced, and you can have improved performance. Noise addition is also very less since it is digital or discrete. Noise addition is also very less. Whereas if you take the code division multiplexers, whereas if you take code division multiplexers, whereas if you take code division multiplexers, so it is used for wider bandwidth, and at the same time so information is sent over long distances. So information is sent over long distances, that is the information spread out over a wide bandwidth. That is what you can say actually. Okay, so as a direct sequence spread spectrum technique, you can observe, or you can observe as a frequency hopping spread spectrum technique. Okay, now what we'll do is we'll just try to see a problem. Okay, so in a code division multiplexer system with n is equal to 8 chips, the maximum number of users who can be assigned which mutually orthogonal signature sequences are. Okay, so here the important thing in CDMA system is that the information bits will be represented by the corresponding bit duration or the symbol period. So they will be represented by using the bit duration or the symbol period, whereas the spreader sequence it will be represented by the chip rate. So the spreading factor is nothing but SF is equal to chip rate by symbol rate. Okay, so the spreading factor is nothing but chip rate by symbol rate. So if a single symbol is represented by a code of, for example, so 8 chips, so chip rate is equal to symbol rate into the chip rate is nothing but symbol rate into the number of chip rate is equal to symbol rate into the number of times it is done. So the spreading factor is equal to, so it is 8 times the symbol rate by symbol rate. Okay, so it is actually 8. So 8 times the symbol rate by 8. Okay, so the spread factor or the process gain factor is used to determine a certain upper limit of the total number of sequences. Okay, so the spreading factor is actually 8 actually. Okay, this spreading factor is actually 8. So you can expect problems of this particular type. So you can expect problems of this particular type. So please go through this multiple access schemes. So you can expect problems on multiple access, or what to say, you can expect problems on any of these FDMA, frequency division, multiple access, TDMA, and so on. So you can expect problems on this particular type. Okay. So the efficiencies of various FDMA, TDMA system, they are also very important. Okay.